Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the Improvement Podcast. So in this episode today, I'm going to touch on productivity tips and a bit of a different episode than usual. But the reason why I'm kind of going over some tips in terms of getting more out of your days and being a bit more productive is because if you can implement these tips, if you can kind of streamline your day, get more done in a shorter time frame, make yourself more efficient, what that's basically going to do is free up more time as a result. And time is a important asset when it comes to improving your body composition. More time means more time you can spend in the gym training. It also means more time you can spend sleeping, which we know is one of our main tools to recover is our sleep quantity as well as our quality. And as well as that, it means we can kind of dedicate more time to certain recovery modalities and doing things like hitting our steps or getting our cardio in while we're in a deficit while having lower stress, because obviously if we feel like we're constantly rushing about on a daily basis, and that's not going to do a lot of good for our well-being. And as well as that, it just kind of frees up more time as a result. And if you have more free time when it comes to outside the gym, it means it's going to be more sustainable what you're doing inside the gym. So this will basically, what I'm going over is going to include kind of things you can do throughout just your days, and not even your days, your weeks, to kind of, like I said, streamline them, make them more efficient. And the first one I'm going to go over, which is kind of productivity, kind of just part of having a good routine and something that ultimately is going to help your progress a lot regardless if it allocates you more time, is having a sleep and wake time. I believe once you've got a sleep and wake time, the rest of your day can fall into place. And what I mean by that is if you've got a set time you go to bed, wake up, there'll be no guesswork when you need to eat, when you'll need to get everything done by, and your day will flow much better. And what I mean by this is I consistently wake up at 7, go to sleep at 10. I know if I wake up at 7 and prep all my food for the day, carry out my morning routine, just things like weighing myself, hydrating, things like that, listen to a podcast, I know I can get all that done by round about 8, 8:15, so I can get that done before my first meal. Because if you're consistently waking up at different times, if I wake up, let's say at 7 one day, the next day I sleep in until, let's say, maybe 11, and I've still got to get up the next day, or I've still got to go to bed at 10 because I'm getting up early, then that's just thrown off my whole day, and now I've basically missed 2 meals. I'm 2 meals behind by the time I actually wake up, which throws your whole day off, which means I know this is minute, this is maybe, it's not going to make a difference between, well, it can make a difference for sure, but it is a kind of smaller variable, but it means I can't get as much protein servings in throughout the day, which means I might not be able to build as much muscle and recovering well short term, building muscle obviously over the long term. It's not like if you have 2 extra protein servings spaced out throughout a day, you are going to ultimately pack on a ton of muscle at once. That's not how it works. But if you kind of have the same sleep and wake time, the rest of your day falls into place and you'll be a lot more efficient. You'll feel better when you wake up, you'll have more energy when you wake up, and you'll fall asleep easier. And it means, like, see if you have like a sleep and wake time and you go to bed at like at a certain time, let's say that's 10 o'clock like myself, then like the later you stay up past 10, in my opinion, it's like the less productive you are. It's like, who is productive past 10 o'clock at night? Not a lot of individuals. So the closer you can get to bed towards like 10 o'clock, around about that time, probably the more productive you're going to be with your days and the better your days will be. And in terms of like another benefit of it is like I don't have to plan out when I'll eat my meals, because if I'm getting up and going to bed at the exact same time, I know when to eat because it's the same every single day. If my sleep changes, I have to then plan out when I'll eat, which will just mean I've got another task to do in the day. So I think something super beneficial for your sleep quality as well, just due to your circadian rhythm. Your body gets in the habit of going to bed, getting up at the same time, which promotes better sleep. I think it's super important just to have that sleep and wake time, and I think that's something that helps massively. And in terms of my next tip is to plan your days. So this will basically prevent you from wasting time. It will also remove a large element of stress from your days. If you, let's say, wake up and you just go about your day sporadically and you've got a ton of things to do, you don't know when you'll do it, you don't write anything down, you'll be so overwhelmed, you'll be so stressed from that. I write everything I do down on a planner, and as a result it removes a large element of stress, which basically it frees up my mind, so I'm not having to consciously think about what I'm doing every single hour of the day. So that's something I recommend massively. And what I personally do myself is I'll write down what I'll do every half an hour of the day. I'll also write down when I'll eat my meals. I'll write down when I'll do my steps, when I'll go to the gym, etc. So I'll have everything written down, so I definitely know I'll get it done. So yeah, like I said, that will make you more productive, because if you plan your days and write out what you'll do at each time, you realise how much time you're wasting, which is something that obviously we don't want, because you're like, that's time where you could devote to sleeping better, or actually relaxing at night more, or spending time with someone important, if that makes sense. So I think it also makes you a lot more likely to tick your boxes, and just due to allowing you to know when you'll do them. And something valuable as well, see if you write everything down, like almost like a checklist. You write what you need to get down, and then as you go through your day, you cross it out. You can do this on like the notes app on your phone with checkboxes, or just write it down on a bit of paper. But if you write down what you need to do, tick it off as you go through your day, it gives you a big sense of accomplishment. It gives you that sense of dopamine. So even though you might already be doing that task, having something to or having like an actual cue to tick something or cross something out, I think helps massively. Kind of put you in a good headspace, and kind of makes you crave ticking more boxes in your day. So that's something I also recommend you do, and something that's helped me a lot. And in terms of something else I do, this isn't something I was actually going to touch on, but at the end of my day, what I'll basically do is mind bank. What this basically is I'll write down everything that I've got to do tomorrow. What that basically does is mean, instead of all my thoughts being in my head, they're on a bit of paper, so that I can actually get to sleep. Because you might experience, sometimes you go to sleep and you think, oh, I've got to remember this, got to remember that. Instead, if you write it all down on your phone or a bit of paper, then it means that you won't kind of be stressing, you won't be up, you won't be you won't be struggling to fall asleep as a result of that. I personally like doing it on a bit of paper when it comes to planning my days and planning what I'm doing tomorrow, just because I find, see, if I write it down on my phone, that's just another reason for me to pick up my phone and be on it, which I don't want, which I try and avoid as much as I can. And that will take me to a future point. But next up is have a weekly shop. So if you follow like some sort of meal plan or some sort of routine with your diet, which I recommend doing if you care about your progress, if you're completely winging your diet on a daily basis and you're not, I don't think you're on the ball enough. You shouldn't be doing so. Just like anything else, would you wing studying for exam? Nope. Would you wing maybe your driving test? No. So why would you wing like your diet? Like, if something's important to you, you plan it in and you make sure you have structure there. And with a weekly shop, have ingredients list of what you need. Get it once a week. This will basically stop you from needing to run to the shop multiple times a week. It seems minor, but see if, like, let's say, instead of going once a week, you go, let's say, 4 times a week or 3 times a week. Let's say it takes you, realistically, but by the time you drive to the shops, you walk around it, you're checking out, you drive home, maybe you're standing in a queue, and you maybe are looking at things in the shop. That could take 20 minutes each time. That's an hour a week you're spending in the shops. Whereas if you do so once a week, then you can spend maybe 20 minutes in the shop, 25 at a push, if that really. So it will basically save you not only petrol, time, and will mean you'll definitely have the food available. Because something that I believe stops people eating healthy is they go to, let's say, they don't have any food available, if that makes sense. Like, how easy do you think it's going to be to pick a poorer food choice if you've got nothing healthy in the house, but you've got a load of poorer food choices? It's going to be really easy to make a poor decision when it comes to your food. However, if your house is stocked with healthy fruit and veg and other healthy foods, and you don't have any unhealthy options in the house, how likely are you going to be to reach for a healthy option? Probably aren't going to be that unlikely, or probably aren't going to be that likely to reach for a healthy option, So yeah, it will just basically save you time, petrol, and make you choose better options and remove stress and improve adherence as a result of that. And in terms of my next tip, it's regarding phone use, which I think everyone, or not everyone, but the majority of individuals are guilty of, especially if you're under 30 and listening to this. And in terms of why I like to limit phone use is when you're on your phone, you're not really productive, are you? I think you can waste a lot of time. So I personally have structure and guidelines when I go on social media. Obviously, I work through my phone through online coaching, so that's something that kind of obviously encourages me to go on my phone, have it on me. But what I'd say is having, let's say, a set time where you allow yourself to go on your phone and you don't allow yourself to go on it, I think is key. So personally, within the first hour of waking, I won't go anywhere near socials. Even after that, like, I'll try and crack on and be up for 2 hours before I think about opening Instagram or anything like that. And if I post on my story, I'll open it, post, and then put it down straight away, because like that's precious time you're wasting in your morning. And people say they don't have time for the gym, but go on your phone, go on your settings, look at your screen time. What if you kind of got off your phone for that period? Could that allow you to get some training in? Could that allow you to even get a walk in or do something a bit more beneficial for your health and fitness goals rather than just sitting on your phone? I believe it definitely can. And I set guidelines not only in like the first hour on waking, but also like before bed. I don't go on my phone, or I go on my phone if I'm talking, like if I'm phoning someone or that, but I won't go on social media in the last hour until bed. I'll basically check WhatsApp, check if any clients have messaged that I've not replied to. If, let's say, they just sent a message at 9 when my screen time setting went on, and from there I'll get back to it if needed, and then basically not check WhatsApp until the morning. And the reason being is, like, I'd advise clients to have downtime and have time away from socials and work, and I wouldn't recommend working up until bed. So it makes sense for me to do the same. It wouldn't make sense for me to kind of do the opposite, if that makes sense. I'm not setting an example, which I believe you should be doing as a coach. And some tips you can use to kind of help you achieve those is, if, let's say, you are always tempted to go on your phone, don't keep it in your room. Or when you wake up, set an alarm clock and put your phone at the other side of the room, so that you need to get out of bed to turn it off and you don't just pick it up and sit and scroll on your phone in bed. I think that's the worst thing you can do to start your day. And see if you get past like the first hour or two without your phone, without socials, you don't really crave going on them. It's like, at first, like, I'm like, oh, I want to check my phone, but then once it gets like 2 hours after I wake up, sometimes 3, I'm not fussed, like, I don't care, and I feel like I'm in a better headspace, I'm less stressed, and I feel like there's less racing thoughts going on in my head, more clarity pretty much. So yeah, some things you can do to help you is also like putting screen time on in settings, which basically sets you restrictions of when you use apps, which can be good. And as well as that, you can potentially consider maybe just increasing the resistance to going on your phone. So if, let's say, you are working from home or you're just at home and you don't want to go on your phone, put it at the opposite end of the house. The harder we can make a habit, the less likely we are to do it. What I mean by this is, if, let's say, you are guilty for going on your phone, what's going to make you more likely to go on your phone? Your phone literally in your pocket, you hear it vibrating, that every time it vibrates, that's temptation to go on it. Or putting it at the opposite end of the house, switched off, and now, although it's not that much effort, now you think, oh, if I need to go on my phone, I need to walk all the way downstairs, I'll need to turn it on, wait for it to turn on to actually use it. So that's going to make you less likely to go on it, believe it or not. So yeah, make sure you're limiting phone use. It will also improve your sleep quality. I remember hearing about a study that showed if you are using your phone, I don't know if it was social media or what, but phone use before bed can actually disrupt sleep quality because it stops you from switching off, and there's also obviously blue light and bright lights on your phone, which kind of impacts your sleep quality in a negative manner. You want to ideally not expose yourself to much bright light pre-bed. And that brings me to another tip. If you have, what you can also do is put night shift mode on your phone, which basically turns the screen a bit more of an orange colour. You can also do so on a laptop or computer, which basically means the light isn't as it doesn't have as much of a negative effect on your sleep quality and keeps you up and stop you producing melatonin pretty much. So my next tip is meal prep. So I think everyone should have some sort of structure with meal prepping, regardless if they eat the same foods every day or not. You should have some structure in place. Like if every time you go to eat you're prepping every meal from scratch, you're making it very hard for yourself. You're not making it very sustainable long term. What I'd recommend doing is when it comes to your diet, prep it all at one time. So if you have time in the morning, do so. If you have time before bed, do it before bed, because if you're preparing one meal at a time, and it's so inefficient. Whereas at night, if you're prepping, let's say you prepare breakfast, lunch and dinner, or let's say even 2 meals and a snack or whatever, while one's cooking and you're waiting on it, you can actually start cooking the other and kind of get more done in a shorter period of time. For example, same what I was saying regarding going to the shops, if maybe it takes 10 minutes for you to cook a meal, or you can maybe cook 3 in 15, why not do the extra 5 minutes and cook 2 more and then be prepared for the day? And again, that will stop you reaching for poorer food choices because you'll have them available. And what you can do is also like bulk cook some ingredients. So I cook all my protein sources in bulk, divide them up into wee bags, fire them in the freezer, and then when I want chicken, beef or salmon, which are my protein sources now, that are meat based, I will then just take them out, consume them, or obviously I'll defrost them first. I won't eat them cold, that probably wouldn't be very pleasant. It would probably break your teeth, but I think you get the drift. And if you, let's say, don't have time or don't want to do it on a daily basis, and spend your Sunday or whatever maybe preparing some sort of food for the week. If that's a lunch for every day of the week, bang some in the freezer, bang some in the fridge. But I believe everyone should have some sort of method that works for them in their schedule of cooking food. I don't think you should just wing it. I don't think you should just kind of go about your day and sporadically eat and sporadically trying to find things that stick to your calories. So it's like, and it's also going to be more money. Like if you're eating out, constantly buying foods out that are readily prepared, regardless if they're convenient, they're going to be probably not the best if you're trying to lose weight. They're probably going to have ingredients in them that might skew your digestion if you're in a calorie surplus, or bulking in other words. Something else that you could consider as well is like, you might think it takes time, but how long do you spend like see if you go to McDonald's drive-through, by the time you drive to McDonald's, you're in the queue, you're waiting for your food, you get your food, you drive home. How long is that taking you? That's probably the time you could prepare a meal, definitely. So I don't think time's necessarily an issue when it comes to eating healthy, really. Could you save time in some manners? Yes, but you can also just buy, if you are really short in time, you can buy microwave meals that are going to be a better option than getting a Rustler's burger or having a pizza for dinner. So I don't think time's an excuse. And when it comes to like buying food, it's like if you're buying like a ready meal from the shop that's like a low calorie, high protein one, that's still going to be cheaper than having a takeaway. So I think time is a very, very poor, time and money, usually 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's a really poor excuse when it comes to ticking your boxes, because if there's a will, there's a way, and there's tons of ways you can make things cheaper and more sustainable in the long term, in my opinion. Like if you go out for food as well, that's £20 down. My weekly shops are like £30 to £40 on a weekly basis, so that's food for 3.5 days out of the week, and obviously I'll have some left over after that week as well, so you could argue it's even cheaper than that. But hope you enjoyed the episode. Something a bit different than usual, but I think when it comes to people who reach their fitness goals, they're not just productive when it comes to taking their sessions off. The people who reach their goals most effectively are productive in other areas of life. They are disciplined, they have good routine, they get up and go to bed at the same time. It's like the habits that you ideally want when it comes to improving your body composition are also the habits that will improve other aspects of your life. So it's super important to bear these in mind and put them in place, because it's not only going to make you maybe have more muscle, have less body fat, but will also make you a better and more productive person, in my opinion, giving you more time to hit your goals, have time left over to spend time with people important to you, or do other hobbies that are important to yourself. So hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, feel free to leave a rating and review. Let me know on Instagram at The Improvement Podcast or at Charlie J. Cuthbert. And of course, if you're listening, or I should say watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, leave a like and leave a comment if you enjoyed the episode. Thanks very much for everyone who listened.